Hey, Shalom, it's your brother Yuanathon. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say Shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth and sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. If you're a leader within the church, or you're simply somebody that's following after Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, we are to be beacons of light in the world. We're to be beacons of light amongst each other, especially if you're a teacher. Because the people in this world, they have no reference, really, to what righteousness looks like. So we're supposed to embody those qualities. Not that we're going to be perfect, but we're supposed to be little versions of Yahweh Shai. So that standard of honor and respect amongst each other, you know, is supposed to be seen by those who have the opportunity to interact with us. All right, now you go to 1 Timothy 4. Let's go there. 1 Timothy 4 and 12, and I'm going to read it in the NLT. All right, it reads, "Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young." And there's many brothers who are, you know, they came into this faith as a young man, and there's brothers that have come into this thing in their old age. But it's a thing of the spirit. So there's younger brothers who are examples for older men. You know, vice versa. Okay? Don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Be an example to all believers in what you say, all right? In the way you live. In your love, your faith, and your purity. So in every facet of your life, like that old saying back in the day when they used to give us those rubber band bracelets, they used to have those WWJD bracelets. What would Jesus do? Now, we know that's not his name, but in every facet of your life, you should think to yourself, how will Yahweh Shai deal with this matter? And you know because you've been reading. You've been giving your time to the words of the Lord. And not only have you given your time to the words, you've put them in practice. Okay? Verse 13, "Until I get there, focus on reading the scriptures to the church, encouraging the believers and teaching them." And that's what all of the teachers ought to be doing, man. Reading the scriptures, applying them to their life, and teaching the congregation so that they might be built up, so they can withstand the wiles of the devil, and they can seek righteousness, seek meekness, so that they may be hid in the day of the Lord's anger, as stated in Zephaniah 2 and 3. But also to this scripture, I want to speak to the fact that I made this statement at the Orlando camp a couple days ago that, dude, don't be a super Israelite when you're amongst brothers or amongst other believers. Don't just flip the switch on in. Always have that switch on. Become it. We're supposed to be becoming. You got some people that they'll flip that switch on when they're around brothers, but in the world, they're a nigga. And people see them as such because of how they deal and how they move and how they speak. This transformation is supposed to be seen of all men by the way that you operate. Not just by lip service, not by what you're saying, but by how you move, man. Actually become what we're pushing. You got to know when and when not to. Patience. You understand how to be frugal and when to give. You understand balance. You've been given the keys to navigate any scenario, man. It should be seen in how you move. I was talking with somebody earlier today, man. We were just talking, like, if you're fortunate enough to have a community of men in your life who have experiences and you still fucking up and your shit ain't in order, at least somewhat, that's on you. Especially if you're somebody who's fortunate enough to their eyes have been open to the understanding of Yahweh Shem Yahweh. You have all these teachers. You have an infinite library of experience and wherewithal to navigate the test that we're in. And if you ain't on point, man, really it's on you, because everything's at your fingertips. It's accessible to you. So we have to embody, you know, all these characteristics and virtues, because it sets the standard for the congregation. This is part of you forwarding the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai by being that beacon of light. Now, I'm not saying you put away your own personality and, you know, hobbies and interests. You're gonna be your own person, But, whoever the Lord has blessed you to be the righteous version of that. That's what I'm saying. So we're going to mimic, our teachers and things like that, but you're still yourself. You're mimicking the righteous application of the Lord's way. Okay? I think if you go read 1 Corinthians 11:1, let me go there really quick. All right, Paul made the statement. He said, what? Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of the Mashiach. All right, so, he's emulating Yahushua. We ought to emulate Yahushua. And we're going to have men before us that are doing that. So, you're going to take particular characteristics from your teachers, man. Which is why it's so important, if you're a brother that's teaching over other men, dude, you got to be on point. There's a saying I learned in the world in regards to somebody who's put in a leadership or a teacher position. They say whatever your mistakes are, it's going to be magnified in your students. So whatever you do, your students are going to take that same mistake, that same fault, and take it 10 times further than you did. So we got to be extra careful. We got to examine ourselves, under a fine, microscope, and make sure, am I on point? And you're praying to the Lord, pray that you allow me to, be an upright example unto the men that you put before me, put behind me. You know what I mean? So this is of grave importance to have this mindset and this understanding in this walk, man. Don't be playing man of the Lord. Don't play Israelite. Don't cosplay righteousness. Become it. So we're talking about, it's all throughout the scriptures that this mindset is highlighted. Let's go to Philippians 2:3, and I'm gonna read it in the NIV. It says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit." And you see a lot of guys with fringes on. They're not about the kingdom of heaven being established. They're not about, righteousness being forwarded in the earth. They made this thing a tool to become the man, to get that appreciation that they didn't get in the world. And because they're using the truth in that fashion, the Lord exposes them. The Lord makes it manifest that He's not dealing with them. All right, and you're not gonna grow in understanding. The Lord's not gonna sup with you and strengthen you in the faith when you have improper intent, maliciousness. Like the scriptures say, wisdom will not dwell in a malicious soul. Okay? Philippians 2:3 again from the top in the NIV. "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves." Not looking to... We've been given responsibility over the flock. You gonna do the Lord's flock any kind of way? And if you do, just know there's a recompense for that. Goes on to say, "Rather in humility value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others." Okay? So being selfless is a pivotal thing when leading, when put in a leadership position. Right? These virtues, it elevates the congregation and that standard of honor and respect. Okay? So just to round that point home, let's go to Matthew 5:14, talking about being that beacon of light. It's Matthew 5:14. It says, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." Okay? So those who are following after the Lord's way, we're the light in the world. Again, we're supposed to be that beacon of light to where new believers could hone in on and say, oh, this is the path. We're shining the light on that righteous path to salvation, immortality, and righteous dominion over the earth. All right, so let's also go to Titus, the 2nd chapter, verse 7 in the NIV. It says, "In everything set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned." Integrity, all right? You got to stand on the principles that we're pushing through the word, all right? This is a serious thing. This is us operating by these principles and by this standard is deadly serious. Someone who isn't operating by those things isn't going to have access to the covering in Yahushua when the destruction begins to roll forth. You understand? and soundness of speech, meaning that you're speaking the full truth. In Revelation, the 14th chapter, it says that the elect have no guile, meaning in their speech there was no deceit. All right, there was no hidden agenda or alternative motive. Now let me go get it since I mentioned it. All right, so you go to Revelation, the 14th chapter, and we'll just get straight to it. I believe about verse 5. I'll start at verse 4. It says, okay, no, start at 3 here. It says, and they sung, it's talking about the elect, 144th. Just start at the top, man. Jeez. Revelation 14:1. It says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion. Lamb is Yahweh Shai. And with him 144,000. All right, this is going to be the elect men. All right, who were teachers who, on the front lines, so to speak, in the spiritual fight. They're going to be the new governing officials, administrators in the kingdom of heaven. The kings and the priests. Okay? Having his father's name written in their foreheads. All right? The Lord's name. They're going to know the Lord's name. They're going to understand his way. Okay? Their name comes with more than just knowing the name. It's a conduct that comes with it. It's a level of faith that comes with it. Verse 2. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne. The new song is the full truth, the understanding, okay? The ushering in of the kingdom, the avocation for the kingdom. And before the 4 beasts and the elders, and no man can learn that song but the 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. So if the full gospel is understood by a man, and he walks in the Lord's way, regardless of what that man even looks like, it's the only reason he could do that, the only way he could be able to do that, is if he's of the nation of Israel, if he's walking this walk in sincerity. Okay, verse 4. These are they which were not defiled with women. And here the women is just talking about another philosophy. They clung unto the true woman, Sophia, this knowledge. For they are virgins, okay, in the sense that they're pure from any other way outside of the Lord's way. Not that the 144,000 are going to be literal virgins, men that never had children. Because it talks about, the Lord told the disciples, those who are forsaken children, wives, and so forth, lands, shall receive 100-fold in the regeneration. Okay, come on. These were redeemed from among men. Oh, sorry. So it says, these are they which followed the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and the Lamb. Okay? So they follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. They're obedient to the Lord's way. Now, the point I want to hear in verse 5, let's get to it. It says, and in their mouth was found no guile. Now, you look up this word guile here. It's dolos in the Greek. And it says craft, deceit. Okay? A trick. Wile. Deceit. There's no deceit in their speech, meaning they're giving you the full truth. Not that they're perfect in their actions, especially in these chains of darkness, this flesh. But the words that they speak 100% align up with the agenda of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Because none of us are going to be perfect in our actions. Okay, the scriptures say our righteousness is as filthy rags. Okay, which is why we needed that grace, which is why we're going to be covered, all right, by Yahweh Shai for walking after him to the best of our ability. Okay, verse 5 again, Revelation 14:5. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. They're going to be pardoned for their sins, like it talks about in Isaiah. Okay, so these characteristics are going to will make a man a beacon of light within amongst the congregation, and in the world in general. They're going to be examples on how to walk uprightly towards God. So you should be like a beacon. You have ships out at sea. It's dark. and you have those light towers, it's a guiding light to the right path. And that's what we're supposed to be in the earth. So Abarat Tazah, the lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises once more to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth and sincerity. All right? May the blessing of election be upon your house. Shalom.